Back with another episode of Byron Scott's Fast Break, brought to you by Prize Picks, #1 daily fantasy app. Go to prizepick.com. Use our keyword Fast Break for the deposit match. NBA vet, legend. We can call you legend because of point 4.
For a brief moment.
Yeah. Our brother, our family, Laker, Derek Fisher in the house.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How you doing,
I'm
brother?
good, man. I'm good.
Man.
If I'm here, I'm good.
Man. I wrote things here, and I had to streamline it. Like literally, I mean, everything you've done. Little Rock, Arkansas, 19-year NBA career, 5-time NBA champion. Mm-hmm. He only got 3.
We can say only.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of them ain't got 1, so I'm cool with 3.
By the way, collectively, we got 13 up in here.
Yeah.
Just so everybody knows.
It's a lot of rings.
Coaching stint, New York Knicks, LA Sparks. Now you're coaching your kids at in the high school level. 13 years with the Lakers.
Yeah.
Tell us which one was the best years. We're going to go right there.
That's hard there.
Yeah. We're going to go right there.
That's hard there.
First and foremost, bro, I'm definitely thankful to be here. Like, this is, like, anything for this man right here is,
okay.
You know,
Showtime.
consider it done. I would not have had I think some of the core beliefs and dreams without watching him and how you did your thing and how your teams played and competed and won at the highest level.
Yeah.
Like, those were the stairs that we used to kind of step into our thing. So I'm always here for this guy right here. Like, so let's start with that. My favorite years, it's like I was talking to somebody last week and it was like, well, which championship year is, and I was like, bro, I literally have 5 children. My wife and I we have 5 children together, blended family. And it's like, you can't say which one of your kids is your favorite. You can say that privately, but you can't. You cannot say that out loud. But there, obviously the championship years that we were able to be the last team standing, are at the top of the list. But those years you didn't quite get it done also, are the fuel to the fire. So I don't know, man, if I had to really pick one, that was your question. The 07-08 year kind of stands out to me. It was a year that we came up short in the finals, but it was kind of a culmination of a lot of my Laker experiences, the 8 years that I had been there before.
Yeah.
Up to, 96 to 2004.
Yeah.
And then a few years away from the Lakers, playing for other teams. And then that was my first year back in LA.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. First year back with, as a teammate of Kobe, playing for Phil, feeling what championship aspirations and like the reality of maybe accessing a championship really felt like. But a completely different appreciation for the opportunity in that year. And the last time I'd even been to the finals was 04, the last year I'd played for the Lakers.
Yeah.
So to be back in the finals and on that championship hunt in 07-08, at a different place as a player, like I found higher levels of confidence and belief in who I was and what I could accomplish as a player in the 3 years that I was away from LA, which was part of the reason why I decided to leave. Yeah. I needed to find room to access other parts of who I was as a player. I'd always played with Kobe and Shaq and all these great players, and I needed to get out there and find out how hard it was to play without those guys.
And how hard was it?
It was difficult. I mean, it was, 2 of the years in Golden State, no playoffs.
Yeah.
Those were the only 2 years in my career I didn't get a chance to play in the playoffs. The year in Utah was actually a really great year in terms of what we were able to accomplish as a team, young group of guys. To make a Western Conference Finals run wasn't really expected.
Yeah.
And so overall, it was a great year. It was just, dealing with the trauma in a sense of like what was going on with our family and my daughter, our daughter. That's what made that year not so good.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed the year playing in Utah. Like we had a fun group. It was a close-knit group. Wasn't a lot to do in Salt Lake City, so we were close.
Get to know your family a whole lot better when you're living in Utah, don't you?
But those years were great. And again, I learned so much more about myself and about the league. Like when you're playing for the Lakers, you're in the NBA, but it's like a different level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It just is. Like it's no apologizing for that.
Yeah.
And so playing for Golden State and then Utah, like you get a chance to experience what 99% of guys in the NBA were experiencing. It's different. When you go out on the road, it's not always sold out.
Yeah.
Half the building isn't cheering for you.
Yeah.
You know, it's different. And so that was good for my growth for sure.
D-Fish, I got a question. You mentioned Utah and Mr. Miller, the owner at the time. You know, you just mentioned a little bit where you were having a great time on the court, but you had some difficult decisions and difficult situation to deal with your daughter.
Yeah.
Because you guys have to, keep having to come back to LA. And if I remember correctly, you still had a year or two left on your contract, and he allowed you three. Okay, so he allowed you, or he made the trade to get you back to LA, and basically it had nothing to do with basketball. It had to do with your daughter.
Yeah, no, so Larry Miller and his family, like, we are forever, in gratitude to them and for them. At that time, it's 3 years left on my contract. Initially, when the decision was made that, like, okay, we're gonna have to live in a city that has the hospitals and the medical care that my daughter needs regardless of basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a list of 5 cities: LA, San Francisco, Boston, Memphis. There's one more city I'm blanking on.
But Utah wasn't one of them.
Utah was not one of them.
Right.
There were great hospitals and great care there, but not the specific care that we would need as time would go on. So initially there was conversation around trying to work a trade to one of the teams in those 5 cities.
Mm-hmm.
And initially I was open to that idea, but we also were working on a short clock here. Like at that time, we didn't know if my daughter would make it past a certain point, depending on surgeries and chemotherapy and how things were going to go. So it wasn't like we had all off season to figure it out. But I was open to that idea initially. So Danny Ainge, who, we dislike for certain reasons, but
and we still do.
No more than I did, but it's all good.
I've seen him in passing over the years, but I don't know if we've ever had like a private conversation in terms of how generous he was as a representative of the Celtics at that time, and Boston being one of those cities. They put together a nice kind of presentation and package as to why, playing in Boston and being with the Celtics, et cetera, would be good from a basketball perspective, as well as obviously the medical care, great hospitals, great universities in Boston. And then St. Jude Hospital in Memphis, Tennessee, they reached out, which was amazing. When you're going through something like that, like support from people is all you can lean on, because you almost feel helpless in a way yourself. And so when it came to moving back to LA, my wife at the time was from LA. Our family kind of unit and network and grandparents and aunts and uncles and the people that she would need if I was working, like they were here. So the decision to move back to LA was made, didn't matter whether I was playing basketball or not. We're moving back to LA.
Yeah.
And so the conversation with Larry Miller was, look, we've been open to the trade conversation, but unless it's LA, I'm not going. So I agreed to a $0 buyout. I had 3 years, $21 million remaining on my contract. In order for us to move back to LA, y'all can have all of that money back, bro. I'm not going to try to do the back and forth and still try to, the money is not really the issue here. It's more about the city and the care.
Wow.
So at that time, like when they allowed us to, they released me from my contract, they kept the money, but I and my family, we had the freedom of choice.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's really power and wealth.
Right.
Is in the freedom of the
Right.
choice.
Right.
Not the money.
Right.
And so, we moved back to LA and didn't really know what the basketball future looked like. Had some conversations with the Clippers, the Lakers, trying to kind of figure it out from a roster perspective, from a financial perspective. Like that was all up in the air. And, thankfully it kind of came together with the Lakers a month or so later, but that wasn't a part of the original decision. The original decision was we moving back to LA, period, point blank, and then we'll figure the rest out from there.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really,
Seriously.
thank God that happened.
Yep. For many reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the 09-10 Lakers,
Yeah.
the championship year. I was a part of that team.
Yeah.
Me personally, I was part of the 5 championship runs that you were part of.
Yeah.
I think that year was the hardest year ever,
Agreed.
that championship run. The starting 5 for that playoffs was you, Kobe, Ron Artest, Pau Gasol, and Andrew Bynum. That's the starting 5. Y'all had to beat KG, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, Rondo, Rasheed Wallace, Kendrick Perkins. Finley was on that team as well. Tell us how difficult that series was. 7 games.
Yeah. That when people ask about the which championship year, there are teams that were more, I think, enjoyable to play on, or we had more fun. Like we played fast. Like I think the 09 team and we could talk about this later, the team that won the championship in 09 was a faster, more dynamic team that could play today.
Yeah.
The team in 2010 was a different team. Minus Trevor Ariza, add Ron Artest.
Yeah.
More physically, powerfully built in order to beat the Celtics in 2010.
Yeah.
And I mean, Dr. Buss, I think, talked openly about the decision that he and management kind of went through in their minds was they kind of knew and felt in order for us to win another one, we were going to have to beat the Celtics.
Yeah.
And the one matchup that had always been problematic against the Celtics was Paul Pierce. So the Ron Artest decision was specifically for the Paul Pierce matchup. And so in 2010, that was a 7-game series for the ages in terms of how it felt to play in it, how physically and mentally demanding it was. It required deeper levels of grit and toughness than other series had required. I mean, there were other times we won the title or played against great teams, but it wasn't that hard. Those guys were together. They were united. They were physically tough.
2 years removed from winning a championship.
Yeah. And in 08, they got the best of us. They deserved to win. And so in 2010 for us we felt like we were destined to win that series because we missed the opportunity to beat them in 09. Like every breath we took after we lost to them in 08
was for them in 09.
was for them in 09. And then now we're getting the chance to live this out in 2010. So yeah, it was, and to be able to win it at home, was also really special. I mean, we hadn't won a title at home since 2000. So to enjoy that with Lakers fans who had basically been rocking with us for a whole decade and hadn't gotten a chance to celebrate with us in real time. So that made it special too.
Yeah, it's funny because in 84, we lost to the Celtics. In 85, we came back and we acquired Michael Thompson. And just like you said with the Paul Pierce matchup, it was specifically for Kevin McHale.
Yeah.
Kurt, we love him, AC, but they could not guard Kevin McHale.
Yeah.
And Michael Thompson, this is crazy. We know how arrogant Mike MT can be at times, and he was even more arrogant young, know. So when we got him, the first game we played against the Celtics was on national TV, and we were talking about where we were going to double Kevin McHale. And MT stood up and was like, that guys. You had to double him. I got him.
Yeah.
He played with him in college. He said, I know every move. I got him. We was like, bruh, Kevin McHale's a beast.
Yeah.
You know, he's the black hole. It goes in there and it ain't coming out. It's going up. And MT guarded him better than anybody I've ever seen in my life. And that was the reason we were able to beat them in 85, you know, is because MT came and he just shut him down. It was like you said, it's all about the matchups.
Yep.
D-Fish, we want to go back to 1996. D-Fish gets drafted by the Lakers coming out of Little Rock, Arkansas.
Yeah.
You know, 23rd pick? Was it 23rd? 24th?
24th.
Yeah.
And everybody, I remember this because I'm looking at the draft, right? And once they drafted you and I'm looking at the highlights, I was like, oh, wow. And I remember, you know, the logo talking about you and everything. I was like, man, he got him. You know, and that's what he was talking about. He said, we're going to get this kid. He said, we got the 24th pick. He said, hopefully he falls to 24th. We're going to get this kid from Little Rock, Arkansas. I was like, okay. So I'm looking at D-Fish. So we get D-Fish. And I remember draft day, everybody's going, who's that? who the hell is that they just drafted, right?
For real.
So when you come in, we got you, KB, Travis as our three rookies.
Yeah.
Right? And I was telling this to Kid J, and the B is that a lot of people don't know. I said, as much as everybody talked about Kobe was my rookie, I said, D-Fish was my rookie too.
Yeah.
I said, I basically had both of these guys for that year, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. We went to the beach and everything. So kind of talk about the rookie process, getting drafted that year, and your rookie year, you played a lot.
Yeah, thankfully.
You played a lot.
I mean,
you know, as your rookie, and Kobe didn't play much. Travis had played a lot, and Shaq kind of took him under his wing. But just talk about your rookie year here in L.A.
Yeah, man, like you said, it was, you know, being drafted by the Lakers was already a dream. I mean, like I said, I literally would watch you guys play, but I never thought that I would be one.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I would watch it on TV, but I never in a million years could have imagined actually playing for the Lakers. So when my name was called and, you know, and Jerry West was the first person I talked to on the phone, you know, congratulate me, excited to have me. So when I show up, I'm just thankful to be here, but also like, you know, I was pit bull. Like I'm gonna work.
You coming? You coming?
Yeah, like I'm not gonna run from you know the situation. Like this, let's go. And so it was just like not wasting any moment or opportunity to like prove that I belonged and not in a loud and boisterous way, trying to brag about it, but just wanting always to earn the respect of my peers, my teammates, my coaches, like never showing up as though I'm taking this for granted.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was always the mentality. And like that first year, there were a lot of days where, you know, like you said, I played, but it was probably, you know, it was 3 minutes to give Nick Van Exel a rest and then back out. You know, and so maybe over the course of the season, I averaged 10 minutes a game.
Mm-hmm.
There was a stretch where Kobe wasn't playing at all.
Right.
You know, he got spot minutes here or there. I would argue that it was the right decision to probably find some minutes for Kobe Bryant at some point.
I would argue that too. And the fact that in practice, we would always go against the starters. So you got Nick Van Exel, Eddie Jones, you know, Shaq.
Yeah,
you know,
Eldon Campbell was starting
Eldon Campbell and everything.
Yeah.
So our second unit was basically me, D-Fish, Jerome Kersey, the late great Jerome Kersey, right? Kobe. And then we would sometimes he switch and put Eldon on that second, and we would destroy their ass. As soon as they took Big Diesel out, it wasn't a game.
Yeah.
It wasn't a game. We would destroy them. And you had Nick and Eddie and them talking about, man, y'all got to take it easy. We was like, take it easy.
No.
So you had the pit bull over here, you know, going after Nick. And it was just so much fun to watch, you know, D-Fish, because he was a quiet brother, so to speak. You know, and like you said, he wasn't boisterous at all. He just went out and did his job, man. And he did it, you know, with great pride and a lot of respect for the game.
Yeah, man. No, I appreciate it, B. And when like B had initially not retired, but wasn't on the roster when I was originally drafted.
Yeah.
They may have had the plan to sign him later, but he officially wasn't. So when I first got drafted, and they were asking about the numbers. And I wore number 4 in college.
Yeah.
You know, my senior year in high school, my older brother had worn number 4. And, you know, obviously with the Lakers, like, okay, 22's gone, 13's gone. Certain numbers are just gone. Like, don't even ask for those. And so I was like, you know, if I can get number 4, okay, boom. So when I did some of my like rookie training program stuff and took pictures for rookie trading cards, I had the number 4 on. And then they signed B 2 weeks before training camp was about to start.
Yeah.
And of course, ain't no conversation about the number. Like, it wasn't no negotiation and all. Like, no, here's number 4.
Yeah.
So that's how I ended up wearing number 2.
Yeah.
But there are trading cards that still circulate, rookie trading cards, where I have the number 4 on because it was over the summer.
Wow.
Even though I never wore the number 4 in a game.
Classic.
Yeah. And I apologize. Like I said, I saw tapes of D-Fish in college, right? Because like I said, my man Logo was like, this kid, if he's there, we're going to take him. So I was watching my score. He had number 4. And so when I came back and they re-signed me, they didn't even ask me. They were just like, you got your number 4 back, basically. Yeah. So D-Fish, one of our first conversations, like, I had number 4, and then, you know, I said, man, my bad.
No apologies necessary.
But he was just, like he just said, he was like, no, it's okay. It's okay. I was like, no, I almost want to say, you can have it back in a year or 2. Believe me, I'll be done pretty soon.
How much did it mean to you to have him as a mentor coming in as a rookie?
Nah, it's hard to explain to people how challenging the transition is from not just playing basketball, you know, in college and then moving to the NBA, but just as like a young man, you have no idea what the lifestyle is like, the choices, the decisions you're going to have to make. And one of the things I feel like has been lost over the years, and then I'll tie it back to why it was so valuable for B to like be there for me and for Kobe and for us as young guys. The NBA is, you know, it's the National Basketball Association. It's a professional basketball league. Mm-hmm. And there used to be a requirement that you were professional. Mm-hmm. The professional part comes first before the basketball. If you weren't professional, you couldn't get access to the basketball.
Yeah.
Maybe the great ones, right? Like, all right, maybe they got to slide with a couple things here or there, but everybody else, if you weren't professional, bro, you was out of here. It's just that simple.
Simple as that, right?
And I think over the years, as we've transitioned into, it's not a right or wrong thing, it's just different. Even how we dressed was it was from watching our guys that we grew up watching, like how they came to the game.
Yep.
Like that privilege of actually dressing up to go to work was kind of part of mentally locking yourself into a certain mindset about going to the game.
Right, right.
And so all of that to say, like, so seeing how B carried himself, the way he came to work, how he showed up, how consistent he was, how he wasn't emotionally high and low based on what was going on. This is from somebody that had already won 3 championships.
Yeah.
You know, who we watched winning at the highest levels, playing with some of the greatest players. So if he's carrying himself like that, then I damn sure better show up on time, focused, paying attention to the game plan, not goofing off in practice, not talking on the side while coaches talk, like all the little professional things. Like, we had a living version of it. It wasn't something we had to refer to in the team handbook. Yeah. It's like, no, this is what it is. So it made it a lot easier to kind of fall into what being a pro is supposed to look like.
It's important to have that vet.
Thank you, D-Fish. I appreciate that, bro. I appreciate that love. I want to ask you your opinion on the NBA today. We've already kind of said a little bit. Well, you know, Kid Jay talked about you coached in the NBA, you coach in the WNBA, which is something we also want to talk about. You coach in high school. So you've coached at every level. What do you look at now when you look at the NBA, or not what do you look at? What do you see? Because you played in this league for 19 years. You've seen this league go from one extreme to a different extreme. And not like you just said, not saying good or bad either way. But how do you look at the NBA now? How do you view it?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a great question. I think, because everything now is viewed through the lens of like, what can I learn or take from it as a coach? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I'm not necessarily just watching it to watch it as a fan, and I'm not really hung up or caught up too much on like, okay, well, this matchup or, why didn't they go inside that time? Like, I'm really just looking at like, oh, I like that quick hitter.
Right.
I like that sideline out of bounds action right there. Oh, I see the way they managed coming out of that timeout, what happened. So then when I kind of tap into like more of just like as a basketball fan, when I watch the NBA today, I sometimes compare it to like, if, for those of you that remember when the WWE was WWF. I don't know if everybody remembers that, but there was a time where WWE was WWF, World Wrestling Federation.
Right.
Yeah.
And then it shifted to World Wrestling Entertainment.
Right.
Again, not right or wrong, because one could argue that the WWE is a more impactful sport than the WWF was, depending on what side of the conversation you're on. I feel like all of pro sports to some degree, not just the NBA, even the NFL. You listen to guys that played before, coached before. It's a different game.
No doubt.
And it's not a negative thing.
Right.
It's just it is built more for the entertainment value maybe than the competitive value, right? Like we, in previous generations, it was designed as though it was a battle, a war, gladiators, so to speak. And it doesn't mean the guys now aren't tough, they're soft, they're like, I'm not saying that. I know that it's said elegantly in some conversations, but that's not what I'm saying. But it's definitely a different way that they are able to show up and compete. People have no idea how big and strong Shaquille O'Neal was.
Oh, man.
Like, it's not even close to any like as dominant as Nikola Jokic has been and deserving of the MVPs. The way he dominates the game is obviously extremely different than Shaq, but the concept is the same. You have no matchup for Nikola Jokic.
Yeah, you're right.
You're
right.
And everybody knows it.
Yeah.
And everybody says it.
Yeah.
This dude, there is no matchup for this dude. Right? That was Shaq.
Yeah. You can't put nobody small on him.
Yeah, you played with guys that there was no matchup for Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Right.
Yep.
None.
You couldn't stop him.
I don't care who.
Yeah,
there was no matchup for Michael Jordan.
You couldn't stop him.
You know what I mean? So when I watch it today, again, I love it from the entertainment perspective. I love it strategically. I feel like the game is more nuanced in a lot of ways. It's less predictable from the standpoint of it could look like they're getting ready to do this, and all of a sudden somebody's flying off of a stagger screen with a flare pick for the center, and all of a sudden he's shooting a three.
Right.
Whereas when we played, it was highly predictable.
Right.
Everybody in the arena knew we about to turn 5.
Throw it in the shot.
On the left side. Throw it in the shot.
Just like Cap.
Inside out.
Fist up.
Yeah.
That means we dumping it in the post to Kareem. And what you going to do about it?
Yeah, wait for the double team or not. And so those things are fun to watch. Like, that's not a negative thing that there's more ball and player movement. There's more space on the floor.
Yeah.
Guys are positionless. How fun would it have been to post up every now and then as a guard instead of always being on the perimeter?
Been a lot of fun.
How fun would it have been as a shooting guard to also run pick and roll instead of Magic always brought the ball up.
Right.
The point guard always brought the ball up. So there's a lot of fun and value into the way the game is being played now.
Yeah.
It's just different.
Yeah.
And it's okay for us to say it's different without hating on how it is now or denigrating how it was.
Right.
Like, because there's a lot of that conversation too, as though the game we played or you played that we all played before was somehow less than.
Right. I love the analogy, the way you explained it, the entertainment value.
Yeah.
D-Fish, that's the first time I've heard it explained that way when you talk about not so much the difference, but what do you think of today's game And not so much, like you said, in compared to the 80s or 90s or the 70s or 60s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just like you said, the entertainment value. And real quick, because I catch myself doing this a lot. When I'm watching NBA games, and like you said, my first hat is now a coach.
Mm-hmm.
So every time I'm watching an NBA game, Kid J, I'll be sitting there going, time out, damn it. You just scored 4 in a row, time out.
Yeah.
And I catch myself being a coach more than I do being a fan.
Right.
But once I can remove that hat and just enjoy the game, you know, it's a lot more fun for me.
Yes.
You know, do you find yourself doing that when you watch games as well at times?
Yeah. I feel like it's better when I'm at the game. And I don't go to a lot of you know, Laker games or just games in general in person.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm there, being amongst the fans, feeling the energy, like you're paying attention to more things that a fan would pay attention to. Like you hear the music, you know, you're looking at the halftime entertainment or the, you know, during the timeout, they brought some gymnastic dog out there to do some flips and like, so it's just it's a different
different perspective.
Yeah. But at home, where the coach hat, it's harder to remove. Is you also can rewind. So my family, I'm notorious for. It takes 4 hours to watch one game because I'm rewinding back to, okay, you see what happened when he came out to step up? They should have done this, but he wasn't over in the right spot. And everybody's like, bro, I'm just trying to watch the game.
I found myself doing that, but then all of a sudden I'm there just watching the game by myself. Everybody just leaves, you know, and it's basically just me and the wife. You know, Cece, she'll be sitting there, and then all of a sudden she just gets up and she just leaves. You know, because she ain't a fan. She likes going to the games, and enjoying that fan experience.
You talked about today's game being an entertainment value.
Mm-hmm.
What's your thought about today's game with the load management? Because it's different from when you played. And way different from when he played.
It's another one of those things that for me, again, I kind of liken it to like the way we used to maintain our cars in the 80s and 90s was different than the way we maintain our cars now. Like we know a little bit more information now that if you keep putting 87 in a Ferrari, the engine may not last as long. Right? If we just go to, you know, whatever oil shop, it's not even really an oil shop. It just the sign says oil shop, and you just let anybody rotate your tires and do the oil change. In 6 months, your car's breaking down because they didn't really do the oil change right. They rotated the tires, but they didn't actually measure the PSI. So now the tires in the front is way lower than the ones in the back. Like, so to me, it's okay for us to like consider the information that is more available now and say, you know what? B is running up and down the court like he only had one leg. It might be smart for us to back off a little bit so that Byron can play 15 years, not 12 years. Because if I'm going to invest millions of dollars in Byron, it would be nice if he could play for 15 years, not 12 years. For Byron, it would be nice to earn 3 more years of NBA money.
No, you're right.
So instead of playing 12, I can play 15. Now, that doesn't mean I'm just, you know, we're just taking nights off or giving guys nights off.
Right.
Without actual factual information that, no, he cannot play or shouldn't play because it is going to jeopardize his health overall, his career. I think at times it's probably a little too far over the line of whether he should or shouldn't play in terms of load management. But ultimately, my hope at least, and I don't know every team's decisions, but my hope is that like at the end of the day, if we get a chance to watch Steph Curry play for another 3 or 4 years because he had a few more nights off, I'm on board with that.
I got you.
If we get to see Kevin Durant for another 3 or 4 years, because like maybe he should have taken some nights off that would have prevented the Achilles rupture, that would not have taken 2 years of KD's career away. These are all subjective things. So I'm not against it. I was a guy that played every night. but my body type was different. I could play every night. I wasn't above the rim. I wasn't doing all the things that these guys are doing now. So I do think it's different. I think sometimes the performance team, medical team is making the decision and the coaching player is almost like out of it.
Mm-hmm.
If Kevin Durant wants to play, the question is, should he be allowed to play because he wants to play, not because you're telling him he can't play.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's where people sometimes there's kind of a misalignment in what load management really means. Like, is the team deciding or is the player making the decision? And when should the player be free to make that decision on his own or her own? And, you know, the team, almost like kids, right? As basketball players, we're like kids sometimes.
Yeah.
If our coaches or our parents don't protect us from ourselves, we'll just run till we can't run no more.
Right. Just to put this to bed, and I'm gonna ask you this question. So, given the opportunity, you played 19 years in the league. If you were still playing today, and coach came to me and said, "I was your coach," I said, "You know, D, you've been playing 35 minutes a game the last 10 games. No data, no nothing. I want to give you the night off tonight. You ain't got to play tonight. Knowing you the way I know you, and we go back to that competitive nature, that gladiator that we talked about. You gonna tell me yay or you gonna tell me nay? I'm good, coach."
Yeah, I would definitely say no. I'm good, coach. That's
playing.
That's all I want to hear.
Yeah.
That's all I want to hear.
He gonna play.
Yeah, that's that load management. Because again, to me, and I agree with you, they got so much data they can understand. But I think a lot of guys are taking load management to a different level because they're taking nights off and they ain't practicing.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So my whole thing is I'd rather take practice off than a game.
Yeah.
You know, in our day, in your day as well, we had a whole lot more pride in trying to play 82 games.
Yeah.
They don't have that same type of pride or that same type of commitment. Maybe that's the word we should use. And I think it's just kind of getting worse and worse for the league. And I think at some point in time they're going to have to do something about that because, again, you got the families that might have, you know, 4 in the family, a mom and dad. He's got a boy and a girl that love basketball. They want to go see Steph Curry, and Steph Curry takes that night off.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's the image that I think will hurt the league more than help the league. So I think at some point in time, they're going to have to get this under control a little bit more and make some of our superstars, not make, but insist that, look, take tomorrow off in practice. You know, basically you play for the fans.
Yeah.
Because that's a vet anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Usually we talking about vets anyway. Somebody, Steph Curry, LeBron, AD, these guys have played for many, many years. So if they take a practice off, it's not going to hurt them come game time.
Yeah, and I mean, like B said, there's not as much practice now anyway.
No.
Just due to the schedule. You know, by not having the 4 and 5 nights or the 3 and 4 nights and trying to limit the back-to-backs, then that spreads the games out where they literally are playing every other day. There is no day to practice.
Right.
You know, whereas sometimes if you would play 3 and 4 nights, then there would be maybe a 3-day stretch where you didn't have a game. And then you could have a couple of days of practice that then would kind of prepare you for that next week. So those opportunities are missing at this point.
Yeah.
So the guys aren't practicing. And I think some of that also contributes to maybe some of the breakdown or bodies not being as prepared to handle the load of an NBA season.
Because you don't practice as much anyway.
You're not practicing, which helps to train your body to actually handle what comes in the game.
Absolutely, absolutely. And my last question to you is you got to give us a KB story, a Kobe Bryant story. You spent 13, 14 years with that young man, and we know you know him better than all of us, you know, or just as well, if not better. Well, no, you know him better than all of us. You know, you spent more time with him than both of us up here. So give us a KB story that maybe a lot of people don't know about.
Man, it's so weird, bro. Like I still, like I know he's physically not here, but then there's days where I have to remind myself that he's not, because like we still feel his presence.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
So so sometimes when I'm like preparing my mind to like talk about him, I still have to. It hurts to say was.
Right.
It hurts to talk about it as
in
though he's
in the
not.
past tense, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But I know it's okay. Like it's okay because he, which is what he was trying to inspire other people to do. Like he left this place physically not having left anything on the table.
Yeah.
It's true.
Like we all, you know, I'm sure there's a day he wishes he could have spent more time with his girls. Like that, maybe he regretted, you know, he could have trained 5 minutes less and got home 5 minutes sooner one day. Okay. But he didn't waste his greatness, you know, on not waking up early or not putting the work in or not stepping outside of his comfort zone and trying new things and becoming a writer or becoming a producer of content. And like, he didn't waste his greatness. So the basketball thing is whatever. Everybody kind of knows what he meant from a basketball perspective. We were having a conversation about like our families and the girls and that, because the 3 years I didn't play for the Lakers, we actually had to text and talk on the phone more than we did when we played on the same team because we saw each other every day then. Like I didn't have to text him after practice because we had just spent 7 hours in the same building. We get there at 8 in the morning, you know, we PT, lift, shoot, practice, cold tub, whatever, like, all right, 3 in the afternoon, we out.
Right.
I don't gotta text you, bro. We've been together for 7 hours today. But those 3 years we were apart, we would stay in touch and text but it always was, how's the family? You know, how the girls doing, how the kids doing, how you feeling, what's going on. And just like all families at times, there's trials and tribulations and difficulties and challenges. And I asked him a question about the family and what went into some of the decisions and how he was thinking about, you know, raising his girls, being married, you know, continuing to expand his family. And he said, you know what, Fish, like one of the things that I really had to start doing was I had to ask myself this question: how is the decision that I make today going to impact my girls 20 years from now? And I had not, you know, like this is 2006, you know, I had never heard, you know, anybody put it that way. Obviously, there's a lot of people that talk about fatherhood and being a husband, but I had not heard it put that way. It was so clear and so laser focused. It wasn't just a throwaway thing. Like you could hear in his communication that he literally thought that and thinks that way about every decision that he was making. And that to me represented like just how his mind worked and how the side of him that people didn't really see all the time. They saw the Black Mamba, the assassin, the killer, but they didn't see the intentionality behind the way he parented, the way he fathered, the way he was a husband, the way he showed up for his girls to coach them in basketball, the way he, you know, supported Gigi and became one of the first players to like really put the WNBA on kind of like, if Kobe respected like that, then I guess the rest of us should respect it too. That was all with the idea of like, how is this going to impact my girls 20 years from now? And so that's to me like the brilliance of, you know, how he approached everything though. It kind of gives you a glimpse of like how the decision to wake up at 4 in the morning. Every day. Right? Like, so that's the story that to me kind of puts it all in perspective.
You know, it's one thing you said in that story that is so profound because his last game, I was luckily enough, you know, to be his coach. And that last game against Utah when he had 60, and we brought it in, and, I said, Kobe, the floor is yours, and he said, all he wanted these guys to understand is he left everything on that floor. He said, I have no regrets whatsoever because I left everything I had in my body on that floor.
Yeah.
And that goes back to what you were saying. The man just had a will, and he never wanted to ever look back and say, man, if I would have played a little harder, if I'd have did this. So I left everything on that floor. And I'll remember that for the rest of my life because I'm standing there like, yes, he did.
Yeah. Nah,
yes,
bro,
he did.
like we'll never see an athlete. I don't remember Tom Brady's numbers in the last game he played. I'm not comparing those two.
It wasn't close to 60 points in comparison.
Like,
you know what I'm saying?
He could have just kind of went out and enjoyed the celebration and the applause and it. Nah, he really went out there to
win.
Score 60.
Yeah, it's right.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Can I take you back? And, something Byron and I talked about was like some behind the scenes stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to take you back, flashback, behind the scenes. June 15th, 2008. This is game 5 of the NBA Finals. This is versus the Celtics. The series was tied 2-2 at the time, and we're at home. We were up 19 points in that game at one point. We were up 14 points in the fourth quarter. We took a L that night.
Mm-hmm.
That night, Kobe went into the bathroom. You remember that night?
Mm-hmm.
And he told me, he said, Jay, stand by this door and don't let nobody up in here. And literally, John Black, everybody, where's Kobe? Where's Kobe? He's in the bathroom. Well, I need to go see him. Nope, can't come in here. Can't come in here. Everybody. I turned everybody away that night. What do you think was going through his mind that night?
I'm not sure what he was thinking at that moment, like us going down 3-1.
Mm-hmm.
I can only kind of speak from the perspective that I had of like losing in the finals in 2004 to the Pistons.
Yeah.
And then going 3 years, not playing in the playoffs, not playing in the finals. Like you start to wonder whether or not you're ever going to get that opportunity again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So then in 2008, to then go from having a chance to be tied 2-2 and go up 3-2 with game 5 on your home court, you're not down 3-1. I would assume he was considering the fact that he may never get a chance to win that elusive next championship, that fourth one, that the one without Shaq, the one that, people questioning whether or not I can lead a team to a championship without Shaq, because Shaq was actually the one doing it and people thought I was just Robin and he was Batman.
Yeah.
Like, I want to show people that I can be Batman, but also bring people along, that it's not just about me. I would assume all of that was going through his mind. I hope the other thing that was going through his mind, because I know it was still going through my mind, is we talk about matchups.
Mm-hmm.
No Bynum, by the way.
Yeah.
He was injured.
In that series, I think a lot of the matchups, we were kind of trying to figure out the Rondo, Ray Allen kind of thing, and whether Kobe was going to chase Ray Allen or I should chase Ray Allen and then Kobe could guard Rondo on the ball. But Phil had decided that Jordan Farmer was going to be the Eddie House matchup.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that third quarter, we were up 15. They make a substitution early. Eddie House comes in. I go out. Jordan Farmer comes in. The next time I got in the game, we were down 4.
Mm.
Mm.
So that's a minus 19. And as I'm sitting there, like I'm not, I'm where I'm from. You're not gonna go to the coach or
you don't question.
You're not gonna just go check in the game yourself.
Absolutely,
you know what I mean? Kobe could have done that, but I can't go just check myself, in the game. But that, like, I wonder if he was also thinking that. Why would we play that many minutes from the third quarter into halfway through the fourth quarter and have a minus 19 and Fish wasn't on the court with me? But I tell people all the time, you know, there's certain things where I'm like, I wish he was here to put his
so we
answer
can talk
on it.
about this.
Yeah. 'Cause I would want to know. What exactly was he really feeling and thinking at that moment in time?
Wow.
Interesting. So you coach in high school basketball now.
Yeah.
What's the hardest part? I think I know the answer to this. What's the hardest part coaching high school basketball?
Unrealistic expectations of I would argue parents before players.
That was my answer.
Yeah.
Because it's parents.
Yeah.
It's the parents for me.
Yeah. I would argue it's the, and I don't even want to say unrealistic desires, right? In terms of like wanting my son, wanting my daughter to, but unrealistic in terms of the expectation of what that should look like or how that should play out. I think sometimes that not being aligned in their minds, it kind of sometimes automatically leads to some conflict or disconnect that isn't necessary. I think high school has almost gone to kind of this year-to-year approach to things, whereas before when we entered high school, I mean, when we went to high school, it was 10, 11, 12. There was junior high school, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah.
Okay, so, you know, now high school is 4 years, but it's not necessarily viewed that way by players and parents. So if a kid comes to your school in the 9th grade, as a coach, the opportunity to work with that player for 4 years to help prepare him or prepare her for like going to college is like an important component to putting the right plan together to help the player or the person get there.
Yeah.
If you only have 9 months, because if everything doesn't go the way parent player expects it to go, and then they're going to go somewhere else, that's a completely different relationship, a completely different plan and program. And there is no program that in 9 months is going to create this picture for, you know, your son or daughter that you expect. So that, to me, is the most challenging part. I find the kids themselves to be pretty easy to work with. But some of my, you know, coaches and guys that I've gotten to know at the high school, they're like, look, man, you can't out-coach home.
Yeah.
And so the messaging coming from home, it's hard to out-coach and win that battle. And a lot of young guys feel that conflict of the messaging coming from home, the messaging coming from coach.
Right.
And he's in the middle.
Right. Yeah, it makes it tough.
Yeah.
Makes it tough,
you know,
on the
and
kid,
so a lot of it isn't even that sometimes the kid is acting out through his performance in a way that is more aligned with the coaching coming from home. Because that's who he has to ride home with.
Yeah.
I
So
understand.
you're talking about that balance. You're coaching your kids. How do you balance dad and coach?
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons why I had never really coached my kids before is to make sure that balance was always there. Like, I don't want us at home to not be on the same page because you still mad because I ain't put you in, you know, soon enough in the game yesterday, or I called you out in practice, so now your door closed, you don't want to talk to me. Like, I never wanted that with any of my kids, so that's why I was like, nah, I'm not coaching them. But in making this decision and us talking as a family, we felt like they were old enough, you know, I was old enough now, mature enough to like be able to separate that. And we keep it pretty separate. I mean, I do not want our sons to ever feel like they've disappointed me in any way in terms of how I view them and see them in this world and how much they are loved and adored by me based on some basketball-related performance thing. You know, so even in how I coach and talk to them and teach them, like I hold them accountable in practice and in the game. Like they get subbed out, they get called out on making poor decisions just like everybody else does. But just like other players, like, and as B knows too, like every player has a different way that you can or should or shouldn't hold them accountable for their sake, not because you can't call them out or hold them accountable. And so with my sons, like I know the tone that I need to use that will work for them to make sure that that barrier doesn't get crossed of like, hold up, like that's how he gonna talk to me in front of
right.
Like in front of my classmates, in front of my best friends, like at a game, in front of my girlfriend, he gonna talk to me like. So I balance that very well, but I do that with the other guys as well.
Right, you have to.
I don't call his teammate out in a more aggressive, disrespectful tone than my own son. Like that doesn't fly.
Right.
And so I think that hopefully has allowed parents and families who, you know, there was a lot of concern when I initially accepted the job that it was all gonna be daddy ball.
Yeah.
And I, you know, the whole reason why I'm doing it is just so I can prop my sons up and make them look good. And that's just from people not knowing me.
Right.
Yeah.
And not understanding that, like, even with my own children, because I think it's best for their growth and development, I'm ultimately gonna choose what's best for basketball, what's best for winning, and what's best for the team. And the individual person will always kind of come last in my book.
Yeah.
Like because that's what I feel like helped to shape me into what I became.
Yeah.
That there was no sacrifice for winning. There was no sacrifice for team. There was no sacrifice for doing what was required, that possession. So I'm not gonna somehow then sugarcoat it for my sons and somehow try to make it easier for them, because then that's gonna hurt them later.
Yeah.
I'd rather make it harder. So no, you're not gonna start every game, bro.
Yeah,
just because I'm coaching.
Yeah.
You're gonna come off the bench too.
Yeah.
You're gonna earn your minutes too.
Yeah.
Like,
Absolutely.
It's all the same. The only difference is we go home together sometimes, but not because I'm treating him as a favorite.
Yeah.
Or he's allowed to get away with things that his teammates aren't. Like that's not true. Never will be true. You know, for those people that thought it was gonna be that way and will always find a reason to say it was.
Yeah.
That's for them. That's their stuff.
Right.
That has nothing to do with me.
Right. Well, D-Fish, I know the last thing I want to say to you is I don't know if a lot of people know, D-Fish just turned 50 not too long ago.
Yes, sir.
And Gloria, his beautiful wife, invited me and my wife to celebrate his 50th with him, and we had a ball, had a lot of fun. And he still look good for 50 years old.
He doesn't even look 50.
He still look good for 50 years old. So all y'all out there that didn't know, wish D-Fish a happy birthday, a belated happy birthday, because the man just hit the big 50. And D, man, just appreciate you, brother. I love you like a younger brother.
Yes, sir.
Because he is a little younger than me.
Yep.
And you always got a place in my heart, dog.
Yeah, thank
always.
you, B.
Family,
Same here,
that's for
man.
sure.
I got a question for both of you guys, though.
Yeah.
One last question.
Yeah.
Leadership, both of y'all, toughness, clutch playmaking for the Lakers. Does number 2 and number 4 belong up in the rafters?
I'm going to say, yeah. and again, it's, and when you look at the Hall of Fame, they've gotten away from all about numbers now. It's what you've been able to accomplish in the league. It's what you've been able to accomplish in the basketball world, what you've been like in the community. It's a little bit of being more well-rounded. Mm-hmm. So, 5 championships, 19 years. I mean, yeah.
I mean, because, listen, Powell got up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got 2 rings.
Yeah. That's the Hall of Fame thing. Like that automatic bridge gets crossed with the Hall of Fame induction. And that's fair. That's what separates the Lakers from a lot of other organizations, that the only guys up there are in the Hall of Fame. That's fair.
That's right.
Now, for us to go up there, Michael Cooper has to go up there first.
Who is going up
there
Yep.
due to the Hall of Fame bridge that was crossed.
Yeah.
Whether that changes or not, to me, that distinction can always remain. Like, we don't necessarily have to change the distinction. But what should change is that some other organizations have, whether it's a ring of honor or something that creates still that separation and distinction between guys that right now be in a big pot of guys that just play for the Lakers.
Yeah.
So what separation can you create for guys that have much more impact than just playing a couple years for the Lakers and thank you for your service? Like, what more can be done to actually show the love of how Byron Scott impacted the organization as a player and as a coach, as a champion, still as a ambassador in the community, still carrying the legacy? Like, something can be done to celebrate that, in my opinion.
So the answer is still the same.
For both of you guys,
that's what I'm saying.
the answer is the same. Well, thank you, D-Fish, for coming through. This is another episode, Byron Scott's Fast Break. We appreciate your time.
Appreciate you, Jay. Good to see you, man.
Yep.
Likewise.
Thank you guys, man.
Yes,
Love
sir.
you guys too.
Yes, sir.
Yes, indeed.
We'll see you on the next one. Thank you for watching Byron Scott's Fast Break. If you like what you saw, here's some more videos. And while you're at it, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.